Would you be a Bonnie Blue fluffer for $10,000 an hour? I'll explain. In this hypothetical, Bonnie Blue offers you a job to be one of her fluffers for a 24-hour challenge where she is going to have sex with 10,000 dudes in a single day. Your job as a fluffer, if you don't know what those are, is to keep the men excited for when they have sex with her. You have to keep in mind that they're only going to be fucking her for about 15 to 10 seconds at a time, and your job as a fluffer is to make sure that their lower member stays up and is ready to perform so she can, as quickly as possible, dispatch each one of the guys. So you're going to be jerking off a lot of penis, sucking a lot of penis. Your hands are going to get dirty, literally, figuratively, metaphorically, any way that you can think of. Your job as a fluffer is going to be not the funnest. And since there's going to be so many dudes in a single line, it'll feel never ending. You're going to be stuck in a perpetual cycle of jerking off penises, and it's going to be a 24-hour shift. If you accept yes and you say yes to this job, you cannot quit midway. You can't say, oh, I need to take a bathroom break, I need to take a lunch break. No, it is a 24-hour non-stop shift of you being a fluffer. You got to do what you got to do. If you say yes to this job and you complete it successfully for one day, Bonnie Blue will offer you the opportunity to come back whenever you want and work another day as her fluffer. The only caveat is, once again, it's a full 24-hour shift. But you are getting paid $10,000 an hour. If you work a full shift, you will be making $240,000 per day as a Bonnie Blue fluffer, which is a lot of money. So it really is pick your poison. Infinite wealth or never be able to look at your hands the same way again. If I personally had to choose what I'm doing in this hypothetical, you couldn't pay me to be her fluffer. You could give me $1 million an hour, and I'm not fucking doing it. Maybe I'm just not about my money. But, I mean, no. Real Steel is one of my favorite films ever created, and it is so criminally underrated. Why this movie has never gotten a sequel is absolutely beyond me. This shit is so peak. I know the premise of robots fighting is nothing new, but this movie does so much more with that idea. It's a story of reconciliation between a father and his son who find a junkyard robot and slowly climb the ranks of the underground robot fighting world until they finally face the champion, Zeus. And in that final fight scene, when the fucking Hugh Jackman is controlling Adam, and he's doing a fucking mid-air uppercut jumping in the air, and Adam is copying his moves. Oh, yo, you can't tell me that shit didn't have you jumping, bro. All of the fight scenes in Real Steel is 80% of them are Adam getting his ass beat, but the movie just makes you feel for these characters, and you're rooting for Adam every single step of the way. And when he finally beats Zeus, and then he technically loses on a technicality, it doesn't matter. Adam is the people's champion. That entire movie was absolutely amazing from start to finish. I don't know why there's no Real Steel 2. To my knowledge, the first movie was pretty successful and well received, and they just refused to make a second movie. Why don't we see more robots fighting? I want to see a return of Midas, Noisy Boy, Zeus. What was it? Mike? No. What's the name of the guy with the 2 heads? It's another robot. He's one of the high-end robots. And Adam, bro. Go Adam. We need to see him again. I know that there were video games about Real Steel. There was a mobile game, and there was also a console game. But I want a movie. I need more Real Steel content, bro. I know this is profitable. If anyone that makes movies is listening, you could be a fucking billionaire. Just make another Real Steel movie. One question that I've been thinking a lot about recently is, at what age do you reach UNC status? What is the numerical value that you have to be at in order to be considered UNC? Because I'm 18, and up. I know what you're gonna say. I look older than that. I've gotten that a lot. In fact, I've grown facial hair since I was about 4 or 5 years old because I have an abnormally high amount of testosterone. I kid you not, I've had a mustache. Been growing a mustache since I was 5. Because I remember in kindergarten, motherfuckers would look at me like a zoo animal because I was the only one with facial hair. But that's besides the point. I think UNC status really starts once you're 30. Like, once you're no longer in your 20s, I think that's when you can really consider someone UNC. But on the internet, right? UNC status varies widely. Motherfuckers will call anyone UNC. I've had my own friends who are in the same grade as me, same age as me. We fucking grew up together. In my comment section on some bullshit like, UNC, is that you, UNC? UNC, I was watching this video. What the fuck are we doing? But you get what I'm trying to say. What would you personally consider the number that you have to reach? How old do you have to be when you are officially UNC status? You are no longer in your youth. You are not a spring chicken. You are no longer young. You are now UNC, which is what? Like the transitionary period between young and old head. So you're just in that middle ground. I'm gonna say 30. Maybe some people are gonna say something a little bit younger than that. I'd say the lowest I'd go to is like 24, 25, because that's when you graduate college, right? So if you really want to consider that UNC, then sure. Anything below that, I don't know, you're losing me. One YouTuber who I don't see many people talk about, and honestly doesn't get talked about enough, is Blazefire. This guy's videos are absolutely top tier. Extremely high effort, well-made, coherent pieces about whatever topic he wants to talk about. If you are a fan of video essays and you enjoy watching those on YouTube, I promise you, you're gonna absolutely fucking love his videos. Once I started watching him, I couldn't stop. I was like a heroin addict, itching at the neck, waiting for the next Blazefire video to drop. Albeit, his upload schedule is a little bit sparse nowadays, but still, if you have not discovered him yet, I highly implore you to go give him a watch. My favorite video of his is probably the one he did about power scaling, but he has so many greats in his arsenal, you know, it's hard not to love him. His videos are extremely high effort, pretty good production quality for someone who presumably works as a solo team. And, you know, he really might be top 5 gay people. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. He's in my personal top 3 YouTubers right now. Absolutely love his videos, and he deserves all the glaze. Amazing videos. If you have not watched them yet, I recommend them. And yeah, bro, plays fire. Go. These are my bottom 5 profile pictures, and if you are still actively using any of these, then you might just be a bum. Coming in at number 5, we have this specific My Little Pony profile picture. Now, I have nothing against My Little Pony, it's just this specific image with the glasses pisses me off. Coming in at number 4, we have the AI generated images of Disney princesses with diamond grills or diamond chains or just like flexing any type of money in general. All of these were lame as fuck, and if you use them, you're a drone. At number 3, this one kind of relates to number 4, any variation of the album A Great Chaos. The original one with Ken Carson was cool because he was the one that started it. It was his album cover. And then motherfuckers started making variations of the same album with different people and diamond grills. Like the Donald Trump one, oh my god, that one has actually got to be bottom 3 images in existence. Coming in at number 2, we have alleged school shooters or confirmed school shooters. Why you want to make this your profile picture, I don't know. It's not edgy, it's not cool. You're just really fucking lame. And coming in at number 1, to absolutely nobody's surprise, any profile picture from the Coffin of Andy and Lele. Any variation of this game as your profile picture has got to put you on some sort of list, because I know what type of a person you are, I just can't prove it. You're a fucking weirdo. Why are you supporting this weird incest game? And why are you repping it proudly on your profile? God help you. The song playing in the background right now was allegedly composed by a 5th grader. And that is extremely impressive because this shit sounds good. You know, this shit sounds like something that would be an Undertale. This is a good ass song. And I was super duper impressed by this. And I read the caption, and something in my brain started to kind of wonder how true this statement was. I was reading the caption and I don't remember what it said verbatim, but it said something along the lines of, my daughter told me she made this melody, it was out of season, but she hopes it will remain in someone's heart. She says, I hope it will remain in someone's heart. And my mind immediately thought back to that one tweet of the mom who said her kid told her, fret not, mother, we will make it through these trying times. Like, did your kid really say that? Or are we starting to make up fibs here? Regardless, this song is fucking goated. And if a 5th grader really did compose this, they are an absolute prodigy. But that caption just made me chuckle.
Parenting is not easy, and I know that there's going to be obstacles and mishaps and bumps along the road, because frankly, no one ever teaches you how to raise a child. But I started thinking about it, and these are some ways that I will know for sure if I failed as a father. Number 1, if my daughter participates in a 20v1 as one of the 20 women that's in the video. What the fuck are we doing? Like, girl, get the fuck up, have some decorum. What the fuck are we doing shaking ass for some bum's YouTube channel? I'm pretty sure the girls don't even get paid to attend that shit. They want to do it just to do it. Number 2, if I ever find out that my son is e-dating on the internet, specifically through Discord, yeah, pack it up. Like, you saw your father bag this 10 out of 10 that you have the honor of calling your mother, and we're e-dating on the internet, on discord.com? What gave you the impression that was acceptable? Get the fuck out my house. Number 3, if my daughter has an OnlyFans, I am going to be extremely disheartened as a father. And I know that might be a controversial take because there's going to be people trying to tell me that OnlyFans is actually empowering towards the women because they're taking advantage of the very same system that men put them in. Yeah, well, guess what? Who are you pandering to in that very same system? Men. Who controls the porn industry? Men. And what are you doing? You are just perpetuating a cycle that hurts women, that's hurting you. So, no, I'm not going to be proud that you're doing OnlyFans. Like, as a father, imagining that my daughter's like entire body would just be on display for $5.99 a month would hurt me. I would not be able to go to sleep at night. Oh my god. And number 4, last but not least, if my son ever grows up to be a chronic cheater who can't maintain a relationship for more than a month because he just can't stay faithful to a single person, yeah, ushers, lock the doors because I'm beating your ass. And I know that there's going to be dudes in the comments trying to tell me, why would you care if your son's a player? That just means that he can bag the baddies and he's good looking and he's charismatic, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, here's the thing. If I raised a son who cannot stay faithful to a single person to save his life, what does that reflect on the father? Yeah, not much. More like lack thereof a father figure. I'll never care if my children end up being gay, trans, lesbian, non-binary. You do you. I'm still going to love them all the same. But what I will care about is if they end up being bums with no backbone, no character, no discipline, no manners. Because then I will know that I have failed as a father. It's come to my attention that people found this account, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just people that know me from a different part of the internet. And once again, not in a bad way. I'm not an OnlyFans model or something. You'll never catch me goat seeing my asshole for $5.99 a month. But people know me from Roblox videos that I make. Some people saw this account. God knows how they fucking found it. I tried to make this shit fresh. But yeah, some people found it. They messaged me. They recognized me. And I was like, oh shit. Okay, well, if you know what that channel is, and if you don't know, then shit, those who know. But I don't want to talk about Roblox here. I'm tired of talking about Roblox. I can only speak about the same game for so long until I reach my wit's end. I want to talk about anything else. Literally anything else. Please. Would you sell your body to strangers on the internet? A little over 2 years ago, I had this homegirl, and she was the most, chill, down-to-earth person that you'd ever meet. Very kind person. The best way that I could describe her was a little like strawberry chick from this cartoon. I don't know what she's called, so I'll look her up and put a picture of it on the screen. But she was a pretty good person, all things considered, and I never really thought anything bad of her, or, anything out of the ordinary. She seemed normal to me. And one day I lost contact with her. It'd been about 2 to 3 months since I ever spoke with her, and next time that I saw her and we were making conversation, the topic came up of having a job. And, jobs, it's a necessary evil. You kind of need those to live. So even if you don't like working, well, guess what? You can't be a bum. So you have to go get a job. We all have to get jobs. And I know the word job might be a sensitive topic for some, but it is what it is. She tells me that when she turned 18, she started participating in the adult entertainment industry. And after that, we stopped being friends. And I really don't know why. I think I just stopped talking to her. If I'm being 100% honest, it's kind of like when you have a friend and you guys never have a class together, so you never really get a chance to talk organically, so you don't. And then more and more time goes on, and as you drift apart, you just never bother rekindling that friendship. It was sort of like that, except she never went to my school, so I just talked to her even less. But it really made me wonder how my personal moral compass dictated whether I should be friends with her or not. At the time, I thought it was pretty weird, especially since she was like fucking freshly 18. Like, holy shit, dude. We were fucking high school sophomores not too long ago, and now you're doing this. It really did catch me off guard. It was quite the revelation. And at that point in time, I did think of her negatively. I'm not gonna lie to you. People's viewpoints change as they get older, but at the time I was like, oh, that is kind of disgraceful. That's a little disappointing to hear from you. But I never told her that. My initial reaction when I found out that information was just, oh, okay. But on the inside, you always kind of internally judge people. Well, I try not to do that as much. Now I try to judge them externally, just so there's no miscommunication there. But at the time, I didn't really react too much to it. And it made me wonder, is it worth it to sell your everything on the internet for money? And I guess that question can really be divided into two parts. Do you need the money or do you want the money? Now, I think if you need the money for whatever extenuating circumstance, I'm not going to sit here and tell you to go show it off for $5.99, but I'd understand it more if this is a need and not a want. But if you're just selling your shit so you can go buy shoes or clothes or things that aren't too necessary, I'd be less understanding. But I guess what I'm really trying to say is, to this day, I don't know why I really stopped being friends with her. And I never will. I really never will. But I can't help but feel like it was sort of my fault. And wherever she is now, God, I hope she doesn't find this video. That'd be a little awkward. But yeah, I hope she's alive. I hope she didn't die, that's for sure. And would I personally strip down and goat see my asshole into a camera for money? No, I don't think I would. I think that wouldn't even be in my alphabet of plans. That wouldn't even be plan Z if all else went wrong. Just because I like having a little bit of dignity I have left. But yeah, that's it. Rape in media has always been a very delicate and touchy subject because, number one, it makes the viewer uncomfortable having to watch that, and number two, as a writer/director, how do you implement that into your work without it just completely ruining the experience for the people consuming your art, your media? Because you have to make sure that it actually contributes to the narrative and it's not there just to be there. And I started thinking to myself, what are some shows that I've personally watched that have rape and have it in the show very blatantly? And one came to mind. Spoiler alert for The Sopranos, if you're planning on watching that show or are watching it, don't watch this. Tony's therapist, Dr. Melfi, gets raped, and it happens for seemingly no reason, out of nowhere. And it happens to one of the really better characters in the show. Dr. Melfi embodies a woman who is lawful good. She's working with one of the biggest criminals in all of, well, I guess in the show, one of the biggest criminals in the area, yet she still treats him like a normal human and tries her best to help him cope with his problems. Dr. Melfi is basically an angel in the show who literally does no wrong. She tries her best to do her job regardless of the patient and regardless of the circumstances. But one day when she's walking to her car, a thug grabs her and manhandles her, throws her onto the stairs and has his way with her. And that entire scene was extremely hard to watch because it happened for seemingly no reason. What did Dr. Melfi do to deserve having such a unfortunate encounter? And what really pissed me off personally is that Dr. Melfi chose to do nothing about this. Not nothing in the sense that she didn't report it. Obviously, she reported it to the police. There were investigations. And she even saw the man herself. One day, she went to a deli or a restaurant, and she was ordering some food. She saw the man that raped her there, working there behind the counter. And needless to say, she couldn't even look at the man without feeling disgust, shame, a bunch of horrible feelings in here. Because when you're looking at the man who, assaulted you, sexually assaulted you, how else would you feel? But the reason that this case of rape in the show really bothers me is because it kind of led to nothing. Nothing ever happened about it. The guy was never brought to justice. He was never caught. It was never mentioned in the show ever again besides the episode that had happened and then a few subsequent episodes. But after that, it kind of just seemed like an afterthought, and that really, really bothered me. But then I got to thinking, what was the point of it and what was Dr. Melfi's reaction? Well, in her mind, when she found out that the police were basically useless as they were twiddling their thumbs and shoving their fingers up their urethras instead of actually trying to help her find the guy who did it, she thinks back to Tony.
the one man who could be the judge, the jury, and the executioner. He single-handedly has the power to have that guy skinned by his nuts if he wanted to. And Dr. Melfi knows this. In fact, Dr. Melfi compares Tony to a rabid attack dog that she can unleash on her attacker at her will, on a whim, because she knows that if she tells Tony what happened, Tony will, without a doubt, he's gonna murder that guy. He's gonna make sure that dude meets a fate worse than death. But she doesn't do it. She never tells Tony what happened. And even in their therapy sessions, where she came back to work after being raped and she's still recovering from it, you can see that she has bandages all over her leg from when she was assaulted because her knee was extremely bruised when he threw her onto the stairs. She doesn't tell Tony anything. And Tony is clearly concerned. He looks at her, he can tell that something's wrong with her, and he asks her if anything's wrong. But the only thing that Dr. Melfi manages to muster up after their entire interaction, even though in her mind, she's thinking of a million ways to kill the man who assaulted her, and when she looks at Tony, she's seeing a direct window, perhaps her only chance to ever have some sort of justice, but she says no. She says nothing is wrong, and she maintains her professionalism to a degree which is honestly astounding. And I think that's what the point of the entire rape was. To showcase how Dr. Melfi's character never strays away from her beliefs, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter if she was being sexually assaulted, no matter what happens to her. She is a firm believer in the justice system, in doing things the right way, and she vehemently disagrees with the way that Tony does things, where if you disagree with someone or if you have beef with someone, you have to do what you have to do. You kill them, you get rid of them. Dr. Melfi does not coincide with the same beliefs that Tony has, and it's very evident in the way that she deals with how she was raped. Because even though Tony could absolutely deal with the guy who did that to her, he would probably find her in a day or less with his connections and the people that he knows in the city. Dr. Melfi consciously chooses not to say anything and to live the rest of her life with that in her. And I think that's an extremely powerful way of characterizing her, and it really made me like the show a lot more. Initially, I hated it. That rape scene rubbed me the wrong way on so many levels because I thought to myself, what is the point of adding this in the show? Why would you do this to one of the most beloved characters in the series? Dr. Melfi's scenes, every single therapy scene that she has with Tony, not only serves as a beautiful way to advance the plot forward, but it also lets you get a deeper insight into Tony's mind through Dr. Melfi in the therapy sessions. It's amazing. I love Dr. Melfi as a character. And for that to happen to her, really, it was disheartening. It was horrible. And for her to not say anything to Tony after made me hate that entire episode even more. But now that I'm thinking about it, if I'm interpreting it correctly, the whole purpose of it happening was to showcase what Dr. Melfi would do in a situation where she could, in theory, kill a man who had wronged her. And yet she chose mercy. And I guess that's what it is. She chooses that path for herself, and she's gonna live with it. And The Sopranos is such a good fucking show, bro. If you haven't watched The Sopranos, I highly recommend it. This went on way longer than I wanted it to, but it feels like good to organize my thoughts out there. What do you guys think? If anyone's watched The Sopranos, let me.
Female main characters have historically been very hit or miss with audiences, and it's for one of two reasons. The first reason is when a female main character is overly competent. When they make her out to be extremely perfect, lacking of any hardships or struggle in her life in order to portray her as a strong female lead, you inadvertently end up destroying the very purpose of that character. A great example of this, Captain Marvel. You know why no one liked that movie and why it fucking flopped? And why people looked at that movie, said, yeah, the MCU is going down the shitter. It's because Captain Marvel was such a boring female lead because she was just so strong and so perfect and so lacking of any flaws that she was completely unrelatable to any audience that craved a semblance of nuance. The second reason is oftentimes a female main character can be made with the purpose of delivering a message rather than telling a story, and that is extremely detrimental to the viewing experience for an audience. Why? Well, we're going to use Captain Marvel as an example once again. She was portrayed to be extremely powerful from the start, and it's very, very clear that her character pushes the message of female empowerment. Girls can be strong too. You don't need no man. And I agree, it's a good message. It's a great message, especially since there's a lot of young girls that are going to watch that movie and feel represented. But at the same time, it felt extremely forced instead of being naturally woven inside of her story, which is why she's such a shitty main character, female main character. Now I want to give you an example of who, in my opinion, is a really, really good, if not perfect, female lead. Spoiler alert for Blue Eye Samurai, if you plan on watching that, don't watch this. To me, Mizu from Blue Eye Samurai is the perfect example of a good, well-written female lead, because she is a person first and a symbol second. Because yes, it's very obvious that Mizu's story ties back to female empowerment, to the strength that a woman can have when faced with adversity, when all odds are stacked against her, yet she will still prevail no matter the cause because she is a strong woman. But not only is Mizu a strong woman, she's also a deeply flawed character. She is a morally great person who will stop at nothing to achieve her goal, killing her dad. That is her entire reason of being. That is the entire reason that the show even starts to begin with. She only has one goal in mind. She wants to kill her father, and she will not stop at anything, whether that is killing people, lying, screwing people over. It does not matter because to her, the end justifies the means. Another reason why Mizu is such a beautifully written character is because of the hardships that she faces within the story. She is a mixed race. She is white and Japanese. And in 17th century Japan, she is seen as a monster, as an animal. She's seen as subhuman. She faces constant ridicule throughout the story for literally being a woman in a man's world. She is a female samurai, a profession that is predominantly male.
She is seen as a subhuman because she does not fit in with her own people in Japan, but nor does she fit in with the white people from Europe because she's also half Japanese. Throughout the entire story, she's constantly being hunted, scrutinized, insulted for just being who she is, something that she had no control over. The main point that I want to end this video off with is the reason that Mizu succeeds where many main female characters fail is because she faces hardship, she faces struggle. And through that struggle, not only do we get to know her more as a character, but we also get to relate to her struggles, we get to root for her, and we feel excited when she wins and sad when she loses, because that's how you hook in an audience, by making her feel like a real person rather than just a super strong female that is going to be here to save the day, beat the bad guys. That is just really boring. I absolutely recommend Blue Eye Samurai if you haven't watched it yet. It's amazing. Fanservice is the most surefire way to completely diminish a character's development and make them seem completely one-sided. I was reading some of the comments on my video that I made about good and bad female leads, and one comment that stood out to me was someone that said, Ryuko is a great example of a good female lead, and I could not disagree with that more. To me, Ryuko is a perfect example of wasted potential. Spoiler alert for Kill la Kill, if you haven't seen the anime already, don't watch this. Anyways, let's get started. In a vacuum, Ryuko serves as a great foundation for a solid main character. She's strong-willed. She's imperfect. She's fueled by the desire to find the other half of the scissor blade belonging to the person that killed her father. These characterizations of her are very solid and intriguing, and they serve as a good base for what the character could be. The show introduces Ryuko as a brave, headstrong, fierce fighter who will stop at nothing to find out the cause of her father's death, no matter what challenges she may face along the way. But this all goes out the window the second that you realize just how much fanservice is jam-packed into every scene that she's in. And it all revolves around Senketsu, her battle uniform. The one power-up that gives her a fighting chance against any enemy in the series comes at the very slight cost of revealing a lot of skin when she activates it, which essentially turns every single fight scene, instead of a chance to actually see her grow stronger as a character, into a way to flaunt her body. And the show really tries to paint Ryuko as this character who's going through this journey of self-discovery and acceptance and overcoming trauma, but all of those ideas immediately become undermined by the show's insistence on sexualizing her. Kill la Kill, for lack of a better term, is heavily geared towards the male gaze, towards the people who get off to the fan service, towards the people who watch the show purely because there's ass and tits in it. And that's exactly why Ryuko can never be a good character. No matter what positive qualities you give her, no matter what obstacles she overcomes, no matter what development she may go through, or relationships that she forms, all of it is immediately watered down by the fact that the show insists on turning her into a pile of ass and tits. And I know that some people are going to try to tell me that fanservice actually strengthens the plot devices, or fanservice serves to tell a message, blah blah blah. I think that's complete bullshit. I've never in my life seen fanservice be used in a positive or helpful way towards the story. I've never seen it be used to advance a narrative, and you know why? Because it's not possible. When you make the forefront of your character design, or when you make it very blatant that this character has to be objectified in order to fit into your story, you weaken them as a character. And as a result, you weaken Ryuko as a protagonist, making her a pretty shitty main character in my opinion. And that's what I think about the whole fanservice thing as a whole. Do I recommend Kill la Kill? Not really. If you ask 13-year-old me would I recommend it? Absolutely. Now that I'm 18, and I have a brain, a more developed brain, maybe not fully developed, but I'd like to think it's a little bit more mature than it was 5 years ago, I'd say it's not worth your time.
Has-Been Hotel is a show that I knew I wasn't gonna like, which is why I refrained from watching it. I looked at a 30-second trailer for it, I knew I wouldn't like it. I looked at the fandom, I knew I wouldn't like it. But I have a friend who swears by it, who says it's amazing and lacking of any flaws. So with this glowing recommendation, I boot up Amazon Prime and I sit through all 8 episodes of Has-Been Hotel. And I am very proud to say I was not wrong initially. This shit was ass, and I regret watching it. I won't spoil the show for you in case you plan on watching it, which, God bless your soul, but I'll tell you why I personally didn't really enjoy it. I know that comedy is subjective, and what I find funny, someone else may not find funny, which is more than fair. But in my opinion, their over-reliance on really edgy, shock humor, or just making the 50th sex/fuck equals funny joke really gets old really quickly. For example, one of the biggest perpetrators of this is Angel Dust, who is a character in the show, and his whole shtick is that he's a hooker, and he's gay. And every joke that he makes is either a sex joke, or cussing with a sex joke. And that's not to say that he's a bad character, because the show does hint towards him having a more troubled, dark past that they unfortunately never really explore, which feels like a missed opportunity. Him and Alistair are the two characters who I personally find to be the most interesting, more interesting than the main character itself, which is why it's just so much more of a shame that they never really explore those two characters other than very surface level things. Now, I'm sure sex jokes and jokes that involve cussing as the punchline can be funny. If you find it funny, they're funny. If you're in middle school, you'll probably find it funny. But the writing to me personally just feels a tad bit rushed, and with only 8 episodes, I guess I can kind of see how that happened. I'll say this, the pilot on YouTube is probably their best episode in my opinion. Like the 31-minute pilot, not the one on Amazon Prime, the YouTube one is what actually low-key got me interested in the show. I watched the pilot and I was like, oh shit. I mean, I like everything that I saw here, but this could low-key be good. This could be interesting. I was wrong. The show also uses musicals a lot throughout its episodes to drive the narrative forward, and I've heard a lot of people shit on those. Honestly, I think they're fine. There's nothing really wrong with them. I just personally didn't enjoy the show because some episodes were a lot better than others, and the humor just was not there for me. Really, lack thereof humor. School fights. Those happen. School fights are very common. right? Any high school that you go to, probably gonna be a fight. And the reason that I'm trying really hard not to laugh as I'm talking about this is because I've just witnessed a fight in my school. And the thing about my school is that, they're not really prone to violence. The best way I could describe it is as a nerd school, although it's not like everyone there is intelligent, but you get what I'm trying to say. There's not much physical altercations that ever go on in my school. And from the school fights that I've seen on the internet, they can get pretty wild, especially the ones in the really big public high schools in my area. Those shits look like a WWE Royal Rumble, straight out of TV. And I'm not really going to go into much detail since I know people from my school watch these videos, and I really don't want to have to deal with any repercussions when I go to school on Monday. All I'm going to say is school fights can either be really, really gruesome or really anticlimactic. And the reason that fight made me laugh so hard is because these motherfuckers had a bouncer, and the bouncer, like I see the video. He's standing at the door. He's like, arms crossed, covering the fucking door, like a bouncer at a club. And when the fight starts, there's this kid who's walking past them. He looks at them, and he just keeps walking like nothing fucking happened. Like there was a glitch in the system. Like he deadass looked like one of the Sims characters that you tell them to move somewhere. He just kept going. Oh my god, this shit. Like it was bad. I think the fight, like with context, was pretty shitty. Shitty in the sense that it really never should have happened. But watching that video, that even though it was only 15 seconds, I really haven't had like, I don't want to say I laughed at it because that's really mean. Like that's really, really mean. But oh my god, school fights are they're an enigma. I've seen the notion go around on the internet a lot that what you find funny and your sense of humor can be directly correlated with your intelligence. And I started thinking about that, and I sort of disagree. On one hand, I can definitely see where people are coming from, at least objectively speaking. There's a lot of comedy that requires your brain to have a higher cognitive processing ability. You need to understand things like wit, satire, irony, wordplay. All of these things are nuances that your brain needs to understand that can usually equate to someone being a relatively smart individual if you have the ability to understand those jokes. And with that being said, people that laugh at more, I'd say lowbrow, in air quotes, lowbrow humor, are believed to be not as intelligent. For example, if you ever laughed at a single Big Mouth episode, chances are you might not be smart. But that's where I would disagree with that entire argument, because at its core, comedy is subjective. And what you find funny will always be a little bit different than what someone else finds funny. Yeah, there are jokes that we can all collectively laugh at. Like if a little kid tells you to pull their finger, you do, and they shit their pants, probably gonna get a good laugh at that. Does that make me stupid? Maybe. It depends which side of the argument you're trying to ask the question to. And the reason that I say comedy is subjective is because I sat through a 21-minute Amy Schumer Never Shake a Baby comedy special. And all of her jokes had a setup, payoff, punchline, nuance, wordplay, irony, satire. It had all of the things becoming of highbrow, intelligent humor. But not once did I ever smile, or even let a little bit of air come out of my nose quickly, like when you're scrolling through reels and you see something that's mildly funny. That didn't happen to me once. Which is why I'm going to say that intelligence manifests in different ways. And your humor is not a definitive answer as to what what you got in here. But am I just coping because I find some pretty dumb things funny, so I think I might be stupid? Probably. I've spent a lot of time on the internet since a very young age. And I don't mean that in some corny way like the motherfuckers who brag about being raised by the internet on some, yeah, I saw a beheading when I was 4. What about it? But I've been using the internet probably since a younger age than I should have. I believe I was 5 or 4 years old. Literally, like, as soon as I developed a consciousness, I was on the internet. And there are definitely a few things that you'll see that'll make you a little uncomfortable. I definitely remember some videos that gave me nightmares as a child. In fact, one very specific YouTube video that I remember watching as a kid that absolutely traumatized me. And I rewatched it when I got older. And I really don't know why little me was pissing his pants so much. It was this YouTube video. I don't remember the name of it exactly. But it was this guy who does fictional cartoon fights. It was SpongeBob and Patrick versus Finn and Jake. And SpongeBob and Patrick kill Finn. So Jake goes berserk and he just does inflation. Like this is a fucking pyrocynical Google search. And he inflates until the entire arena is just full. I don't know why watching that deeply traumatized me as a child, but I couldn't go to sleep at nights for well over a month after I watched that video. Regardless, I'm getting off topic. Respectfully disagreeing on the internet is like a unicorn. It doesn't exist. The online world has always been a relatively volatile place just because you have the benefit of anonymity. You're behind a screen, your face isn't shown, your voice isn't shown. You can get away with typing something and chances are it's not gonna matter. No one's gonna track it back to you. And I don't really have that. To a degree, I still do just because I'm behind a screen. So I could say some shit like, oh, I'd beat John Jones' ass in a fight with my hands tied behind my back and blindfolded, and I wouldn't even break a sweat. Would I ever say that to his face? Absolutely not. He'd fucking murder me. But I think the main reason that people can't really just have a respectful discourse or discussion on things that they disagree with is because people like to choose the extremes. And if someone doesn't agree with you, then they must be stupid and wrong. And you obviously don't really have the time to deal with someone that's so below you. I don't know if it's just me looking at it with rose-tinted glasses, but I feel like you could respectfully disagree with people back then. By back then, I don't really mean that as in 1900s, more like 2018, 2019, 2017, those types of years, which were a pretty long time ago. Fuck, I feel old. You could have an opinion that someone else didn't agree with, and you'd still be treated with some level of respect. I feel like that courtesy isn't really granted to you nowadays.
Will that perfect dystopian reality where you can be kind to strangers on the internet ever exist? Definitely not, you know. I think 4chan's been around since the fucking dawn of time, so who knows? Parasocial relationships have always been very funny to me, just because I could never get behind the idea of making someone the entire focal point of your existence. A pretty good modern day example of this, even though it was kind of a while ago, prime K-pop stans used to be the most insufferable group on the planet, and now they're pretty chill. But I remember, like, back in their heyday, they used to be not so fun to interact with. And I guess a good, more recent example that I can think of was the story about Pokemon's editor who got fired because he couldn't do his job because he was jerking off to the clips he was editing. I remember it happened, like, I want to say a year ago. It was like a pretty big story. I mean, I'm sure some of you guys know, where he sent her an email and he said, "Sorry, I haven't been doing my work. I've been beating off to the clips." That's a pretty good example of a parasocial relationship, but that guy's just like too far gone. Holy shit. And another reason that it's probably not good to idolize strangers on the internet is because at some point when you're forming that parasocial relationship, you start losing your sense of self, your individuality, because you're trading it to make them a part of your personality. By all means, having role models and people you idolize is a good thing. You know, having positive role models that you look up to and strive to be more like them is a very positive thing. It encourages you to be a better person. You probably don't need me to tell you this. This isn't a newer Renaissance take here, but probably not a good idea to do it to an unhealthy degree. I would argue that a good antagonist is just as important as having a good main character. Because if you have a poorly written villain who doesn't impose much of a threat throughout the story, it makes the main character's journey of getting to the point where he fights the bad guy and beats him sort of makes it feel meaningless. An example of what I think is a really well-written villain that enhances the narrative of the story that he's in tenfold is Johann Liebert from Monster. Johann isn't a good villain solely on the fact that he always poses as a threat throughout the story, but he also challenges the main character not only physically but ideologically. Johann is a complete parallel to Tenma, a neurosurgeon who dedicates his life to saving others. In contrast, Johann doesn't really believe in any sort of inherent value in a human life. Their conflict throughout the entire anime doesn't just boil down to catching a serial killer, it's a battle of beliefs, it's a battle of hope versus nihilism. An example of what I think is a pretty shittily written antagonist that kind of drives the narrative down is General Dreykov from the Black Widow movie. Don't get me wrong, he's a bad guy. He's one of the few guys in the MCU who's not just a misunderstood bad guy who could have been better if he went down the wrong path. No. General Dreykov is a genuine villain who deserves everything that's coming to him. But his entire little plot with the pheromones and the really over-the-top performance from his actor to convey his character sort of weakened him as a villain for me. He felt almost cartoonish at times. And he's a very forgettable villain. After I watched the movie, I didn't even know what his name was. I had to go Google it to make this video because I genuinely forgot who he was. Having a memorable villain is also important. After you finish reading Monster, you're never gonna forget Johann's name. You don't even need to be reading Batman comics to know who the Joker is. He stands out as his own entity because he's just that well written of a villain. But yeah, a good bad guy can either make or break a story. And if you haven't read Monster or watched it, great fucking anime. I would put anime merch in top 3 worst things humans have ever done. Up there with the nuclear bomb and whoever added letters to math. The thing about anime merch is that you feel a strong sense of secondhand embarrassment when you see a guy in his car with hentai stickers on his car windows. That's something that I witnessed this morning, and it really hurt to watch because I think to myself, damn, me and that guy have probably enjoyed the same anime, and there's nothing I can do about it. Like, what the fuck? And if it's not that, it'll be the clothing. Now, by all means, wear what you want to wear what makes you happy. You know, I'm not the foremost authority on fashion. I dress like a cartoon character and I wear the same 2 things every day, but I've seen, how do I describe it? It's like anime clothing that isn't subtle. If it's subtle, and you have like a little logo somewhere, so it still looks like a piece of normal clothing, that's pretty good, that's great. But when you pull up with a full Attack on Titan uniform, jacket, pants, boots and all, I mean, you do you, but like you're not one of them, bro. You're not in the... Things like that are why I'm hesitant to tell people that I've watched or enjoyed anime, because it's very easy to generalize. Even though I know nowadays, it's pretty widely accepted, it became a trend to like anime. I remember if you told someone you like anime like 4 or 5 years ago, you were seen as a freak, you were the black sheep. But now it's pretty chill. Still, if someone were to ask me what my favorite show was, I'd give them a safe answer. Invincible, The Boys, Better Call Saul. But yeah, whoever invented that one fucking anime porn sweatshirt, the white one, that just has all the faces on it, yeah, that dude needs to go to jail, because he created a monster. Insults are as old as language itself. Since the dawn of time, since cavemen learned how to talk more than just a few random noises to signal danger, people have been insulting each other. Humans are a very judgmental species. I've been called many things, many words, many slurs, many strings of colorful language put together, but rare insults are the ones that truly stick with you. It's pretty easy to call someone fat or ugly, but it takes a special type of hate, a special type of animosity towards another person to really give them a rare insult that'll stick with them. Whoever invented the insult of blank looks easy to draw is definitely up there in the Hall of Fame for rare insults. But one insult that really stuck with me, one insult that I'll never forget, is when another guy called me a skinny, frail twink power bottom. Now, I don't take offense to anyone calling me gay or saying, if you're doing this, you're gay, or you're doing this and that's gay. It doesn't really affect me. The reason it hit so close to home was for multiple levels. Number one, I understand that I'm not exactly the most muscular man in the world. Sure, I'm a little bit more on the leaner side, but really? And the second reason that this kind of hit me harder than I thought it would is because this dude has an identical build to me. He is not even a singular ounce more muscular than me. He doesn't have biceps, he doesn't have shit. So it really made me think, damn, it takes one to know one, and he really just called me that, and there's nothing that I can do about it. To this day, I still think about that, and I'm like, damn, I just got bitched. But you gotta appreciate a good rare insult, because those only come around once in a while.
I've seen a lot of people accuse game developers of sneaking in their fetishes into their work. The most notable of which, and I find pretty funny, is the guy who made Kirby sneaking in his vor fetish into his game behind Kirby, which I think is just completely fucking stupid. It's a kid's game. Where do you even connect the dots? Just because he swallows people and absorbs their powers? Okay, maybe. You could use that as an argument if they did like an x-ray of Kirby having whatever he swallowed swimming around in his like insides. That doesn't fucking happen. It's a kid's game, and the point of him swallowing things is so he can absorb their powers. That's his power, you know? I really don't think there's much to be accused of for on that front. But a good example of a game that I think tries to inject fetish content in a way that I frankly don't agree with, nor will I understand, is The Coffin of Andy and Lele. I believe I said that right, which is a walk and talk visual novel type horror game that follows two siblings, Ashley and Andy, who are stranded in their apartment, and I forgot why they were stranded, but they're not allowed to leave, and they have to resort to some pretty dark things in order to survive, like cannibalism. There is a scene where the two main characters, who are siblings, Andy and Lele, are implied to have had sex. And I just don't get what that really contributed to the story. Narratively, I don't know how this drove the plot forward, and that's why I'll always see The Coffin of Andy and Lele, or TCOL, whatever the fucking abbreviation is, as a incest game. And I understand that at its core, game developers or video game development is a form of self-expression, and these game developers inject their own unique traits, unique visions into their game in order to make it different, to make it stand out, to make people actually want to buy it. But do you know why a good chunk of people are hardcore fans of this game? Is because they think it's a safe space for these fucking incest weirdos. If I see a motherfucker with a profile picture from that game, and it's one of the two main characters, and God forbid they're matching, brother and sister, I'm just gonna assume that you are a freak, you are a weirdo, and you are one of the many, many people who adore that game for the wrong reasons. For what it's worth, I don't think it's a bad game. It does a pretty good job at world building, telling you a narrative, displaying very uncomfortable situations like cannibalism in order to survive. It drives you to a lot of questions in your head that really make you wonder if what you're doing is worth it in order to survive. But in my eyes, if you are making a game in the virtual world where you can basically do anything at your disposal, the world is your oyster, yet you choose to make your two main characters who are siblings fuck, I don't know, that game will always sort of be a write-off for me just because of that one scene specifically. Because hot take, incest is bad. Yeah, but who would have thought? Boiling hot take. Cults are bad. And if you participate in a cult, then you are a stupid person. The reason I'm making this video is because of the TikTok cult that got super duper popular, Children of the Waning Stars, I believe it's what it's called. So this girl started that cult, and it was like a fun little trend, starting a cult day 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, you know, shit started going south. You had motherfuckers carving the symbol of the cult into their skin. I say carving in air quotes. It looks more like a flesh wound, but you get it, right? There were people making entire shrines dedicated to the cult. Bro, are we dead ass? Are we dead ass? Why are we doing this? I don't have to explain to you why cults are a harmful ideology, but I'll do it anyway. Cults are bad because the entire point of them is to erase the ability to think for yourself until you become a sheep to the cult leader. And once that happens, hijinks ensue, bad things happen. Search up Jonestown, Children of God, Heaven's Gate, Order of the Solar Temple, any of those cults that I just named, you'll see that people die. People die. It's a lot of murder-suicides, usually what happens in the case of a cult. And what I'm trying to say is, do I think this girl started this entire little movement in order to get anyone to die for her? No. I don't think so. Obviously, she went forward on her story and her made posts saying like, oh, I wanted this to be an all-inclusive space where we could all be friends. Cult was just a silly little name. I didn't want it to be bad, but, you know, I can only give her so much leeway because she's a grown woman who very well knows what a cult is, but she decided to start one anyway. And to anyone that has the little cult emojis on their name, it was like a purple emoji and something else, and they can't change it for like a week, I just want you to know you're a fucking idiot, and you deserve to get made fun of. Is there anything else I want to say? Yeah, point of the video, cult's bad. If you join cult, you bad. You stupid. Splice is a very weird movie. It's one of those few horror movies that actually made me feel uncomfortable. I don't know if it qualifies as a horror movie, I'm just gonna call it that. And the main reason, I'm gonna spoil the fuck out of this movie, but trust me, you're not missing out on much. There's like this entire scene dedicated to incest, where a dad fucks his daughter, but it's not actually his daughter because it's something that they grew in a lab, but he also raised said thing from the lab until it was old enough to fuck him. It was just a whole weird thing. And I don't really know, I get it, right? There's like the underlying tones of humans seeking perfection, trying to make the perfect organism, the consequences of trying to mess with nature. I get that. Did we need to make the implied father fuck his implied daughter? Was this something that was vital to the plot? Did we really need this? I don't know. That entire scene turned me off from the movie so much because, like, the splice thing, the thing that they created in the lab, it looks very unsettling and off-putting, which is what it's supposed to be. But then you have her fucking her caretaker, and then she like spreads her wings as they're doing it. It's like, ooh, what the fuck? What am I watching? What the hell am I watching? I don't know. It has like a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm not saying that dictates whether the movie's good or bad. I'm just saying it's not a horrible movie, but it's definitely the worst movie I have ever personally watched. Like, it's really not one of those cases where it's so bad it's good. It just leaves me with a sour taste in my mouth. I didn't enjoy the
Speedsters are one of my favorite character archetypes in fiction because how do you balance super speed? One of the strongest abilities that you could possibly give a character. How do you write your story around this ability without completely ruining it? Well, there are good ways of doing it, and there are bad ways of doing it, and I want to discuss that. But first, yeah, we need to get into uniform. That's a little better. So why is super speed so harmful to a narrative? Well, for starters, I am a firm believer that 99.9% of the time, super speed only ever loses to bad writing. It's as simple as that, because a speedster, at their full potential, how they're supposed to use their powers, can outrun anyone, outthink anyone, beat anyone in a fight, do basically anything without having a single scratch laid on them. So what does this mean for the story? Well, it just makes them overpowered, and by extension kills the tension of any narrative, making it so you don't care about the characters. Why would I care that this is happening or that they're in this situation if this dude has super speed and he can literally outrun the problem that he's facing in the blink of an eye? Well, that's the thing. Unless you deliberately nerf super speed or write some sort of smart limitation around the power, the character becomes a plot hole or they're just extremely overpowered. One speedster that I think is written incredibly well is Dash from The Incredibles, because his power is super speed. So how do the writers work around this? Well, for starters, he's a child. He's young and inexperienced. He doesn't really know what the full extent of his powers are because he was raised in a society where being a superhero and using your superpowers was illegal. So his main limitations aren't about how fast he can go, it's about when he's allowed to use the full extent of his powers, which we see in the movie was like once when he was on the island. But besides that, he never really gets to go all out, and that's how they balance his ability of having super speed. On top of that, Dash is part of a team. The Incredibles, his family, all work together as a single unit, and his super speed is not the answer to every single problem. Another example of a speedster that has smart limitations is Killua from Hunter x Hunter. Now, I know a lot of people might argue that he's not a speedster at all, and you do have a point, so I'm gonna focus specifically on his Godspeed form, when he's in Godspeed, making him incredibly fast. How do the writers balance him? Well, there's a time limit to Godspeed. He doesn't just have this indefinitely. He can't snap his fingers and turn the mode on and off. Eventually, he's gonna run out of power, and when that happens, his ability is pretty much useless. For that brief moment that he does have Godspeed, yes, he's incredibly fast, but it's not a permanent thing, which is how they balance. One of the things that pisses me off the most is when a speedster character has to slow down for the sake of the plot or to build up drama in a story. Bro, at that point, why the fuck is he even in the story? But those are two examples that I like of speedster characters. I'm sure there's plenty more that I couldn't think of, but that's all I have. So Christian Rock might be transitioning to a man and changing their name to Christopher Rock. Man, that is definitely a sentence if I've ever said it. Now, I will say this, full transparency, she hasn't actually confirmed anything. The tweet that made this was literally a parody account that got suspended, and the only other person that's pushing the narrative that she might be transitioning is Academics, who posted some shit like, Christian is rumored to be transitioning. But getting your news from Academics is like saying that you use Keemstar as your main source of news. You're just a fucking idiot. But I want to picture this, right? A reality where this actually happens. Do you know how mad Blueface would be? Yo, Blueface would actually blow a fucking gasket. He'd be the first rapper in history to have a baby mama and a baby daddy in the same relationship. He might be the first person in history to ever do this. And oh my goodness, bro. Obviously, we don't know if she actually wants to transition. This is literally just a hypothetical video because I thought the parody tweet was kind of funny. But just imagine. Like, can you just imagine a reality where that actually happens? Oh my days. Hey, who knows? It might happen. You know, how does this thing go? Be who you are?
5,000 টাকা is a lot of money. বাজেটটা অনেক বড় for 2 items.
আমাদের এই মহামঞ্চের বাইরে আপনাদের জন্য গাড়ি অপেক্ষা করছে। সো আপনাদের সুপার শপে যাওয়ার সময় শুরু হচ্ছে এখন।
আজকে আমাদের টাস্ক হচ্ছে টাইম এন্ড মানি চ্যালেঞ্জ। আমাদেরকে একটা নির্দিষ্ট অ্যামাউন্ট দিয়ে দেওয়া হয়েছে। আমাদেরকে আসলে বাজার করতে পাঠানো হয়েছে একটা সুপার শপে। আমরা নিজেদের পছন্দ মতো নিজেদের রেসিপি সিলেক্ট করে এখান থেকে বাজার করতেছি।
আমি আসলে মোগলাই রান্নাবান্না করতে খুবই পছন্দ করি। আমি সেই অনুযায়ী কিছু রেসিপি সিলেক্ট করেছি এবং সেই অনুযায়ী ইনগ্রিডিয়েন্টসগুলো চুজ করছি, কিনছি।
কেউ ব্ল্যাক স্কার্ফ পেলেই হচ্ছে আমি একটা টেনশনে থাকি যে কখন না হচ্ছে যে আমাকে আবার কিছু করে ফেলে, তার জন্য আমি ফিশ আইটেম নিয়ে চিন্তা করেছি। এত দেখা যাক কি হয়।
কেন যেন মনে হচ্ছিল যে এক ঝাঁক পাখি অনেকদিন পরে খাঁচা থেকে বেরিয়েছে, যদিও একটা চ্যালেঞ্জ রয়েছে সামনে, বাট সবাইকে খুব ফুরফুরে লাগছিল। বাট নিশাত, আপনার কথা আমি কি বলবো, রান্না শুরু করতে চাই। যেহেতু নিশাতের সময় কমিয়ে দেওয়া হয়েছে 10 মিনিটস, নিশাত আপনি চলে আসুন, আপনাকে 10 মিনিটস বসতে হবে। বাকিরা 10 মিনিট রান্না করার পর আপনি আপনার কিচেন স্টেশনে যাবেন। প্লিজ আসুন। তাহলে রান্না শুরু করি।
ও রান্না শুরু করার আগে আমি পার্টিসিপেন্টসদের উদ্দেশ্যে জাস্ট একটা কথা বলতে চাই। আপনারা আজকে টপ 8-এ এলিমিনেশন এপিসোডে ফাইট করছেন। 5,000 টাকা ইজ আ লট অফ মানি। বাজেটটা অনেক বড় ফর 2 আইটেমস। মেক শিওর ইয়োর ডিশ ইজ ওয়ার্থ 5,000 টাকার। ক্লিয়ার?
থ্যাংক ইউ শেফ। এবার তাহলে আমরা রান্না শুরু করতে পারি। হ্যাঁ শাফায়েত, কিছু বলবেন বোধহয়।
90 মিনিট আমাদেরকে সময় দেওয়া হয়েছে। এই 90 মিনিটের মধ্যেই কি আমাদেরকে ক্লিনিং, কস্টিং, প্লেটিং সব কিছু করতে হবে?
90 মিনিটসের মধ্যে আপনারা কুকিং অ্যান্ড প্লেটিং শেষ করবেন। দুটো ফ্যান্টাস্টিক ডিশ আমাদেরকে দিবেন 5,000 টাকা ওয়ার্থ। অ্যান্ড এরপরে আপনাদেরকে 15 মিনিটস কিচেন ক্লিন অ্যান্ড কস্টিংয়ের জন্য দেওয়া হবে।
গ্রেট।
টোটাল কত টাকা খরচ হয়েছে আজকে?
আমি 3,926 টাকা।
মালাই কাবাব, এটা মালাইয়ের মতন কাবাবটা মুখে মেল্ট হয়ে যাচ্ছে। 10 on 10 লাগছে।
থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাম, থ্যাংক ইউ।
তামান্না, দ্রুত চলে আসুন।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম।
আজকে বানিয়েছি ইলিশ পোলাও, চিকেন শিক কাবাব করেছি, মালাইটা আমি সিজলিং করে দিয়েছি।
আপনাকে আজকে 5,000 টাকার বাজেট দেওয়া হয়েছিল। টোটাল কত টাকা খরচ হয়েছে আজকে?
আমি 3,926 টাকা।
আজকে চ্যালেঞ্জে টাকা সেভ করাটা কিন্তু কোনো ক্রেডিট
জি।
না, রাইট? আপনাকে 5,000 টাকা দেওয়া হয়েছিল, আপনি 5,000 টাকায় ম্যাক্সিমাম কি করতে পারবেন, দ্যাট ওয়াজ দ্য চ্যালেঞ্জ।
আমার কাছে আপনার আজকের কনসেপ্টটা কেন জানি মিল পাচ্ছি না।
আচ্ছা,
কিন্তু খেতে দুটোই দারুণ।
থ্যাংক ইউ।
দুটোরই স্বাদ আছে। ইলিশ পোলাওটাও খেতে মজা হয়েছে, তার চাইতে বেশি 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 মজা হয়েছে আপনার এই কাবাব, মালাই কাবাব। এটা মালাইয়ের মতন কাবাবটা মুখে মেল্ট হয়ে যাচ্ছে। 10 on 10 লাগছে।
থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাম, থ্যাংক ইউ।
তামান্না,
জি ম্যাম।
আমি যখন ইলিশ পোলাওটা খেলাম ভালো হয়েছে, আমি খারাপ বলবো না, একরকম লেগেছে। আর মালাই কাবাব যেটা তুমি করেছো, মালাই কাবাব, ওটা দুর্দান্ত, অনেক ভালো হয়েছে।
থ্যাংক ইউ।
কিন্তু এই দুটোর কম্বিনেশনে গিয়ে একটা গন্ডগোল হয়ে গেছে। এখানে একটু ব্যালেন্সের অভাব আছে, আদারওয়াইজ ফুড ওয়াজ ভেরি টেস্টি, ভেরি গুড। থ্যাংক ইউ।
তামান্না, আমি আপনার দুটো ডিশেই কোনো ফল্ট খুঁজে পাইনি। এটা মজা হয়েছে অ্যান্ড মালাই কাবাবটা অসাধারণ।
থ্যাংক ইউ শেফ।
জাস্ট পারফেক্ট। দিস ইজ সাচ অ্যান অ্যামেজিং ডিশ।
থ্যাংক ইউ শেফ।
বিউটিফুল। আপনার কস্টিং ঠিক আছে, নিট অ্যান্ড পারফেক্ট।
থ্যাংক ইউ।
তামান্না, আপনার মেন্টর কে ছিল আজকে?
আজকে আমার মেন্টর ছিলেন নাতাশা।
নাতাশা আপু, আপনি স্পুন নিয়ে সেটা ট্রাই করবেন। This one. Super.
খুবই ভালো। থ্যাংক ইউ, কংগ্রাচুলেশন। অনেক ভালো হয়েছে। থ্যাংক ইউ শেফ। থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাম।
থ্যাংক ইউ তামান্না অ্যান্ড কংগ্রাচুলেশনস।
থ্যাংক ইউ। টেস্টের কথা চিন্তা করে আমার কাছে চমৎকার লেগেছে, তবে আমি ক্যালোরির ব্যাপারে একটু কনসার্ন, এই ক্যালোরি মনে হয় বাড়তি হয়েছে, আদারওয়াইজ ওকে। ইটস রিয়েলি ফ্লেভারফুল পাস্তা। থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাম। থ্যাংকস।
মৌসুমী কবির, চলে আসুন আপনার ফুড নিয়ে।
আজকে একটা ইটালিয়ান পাস্তা বানিয়েছি।
কি চিজ ইউজ করেছো?
এখানে ভেতরে দেওয়া আছে মজারেলা, আর উপরে খুব সামান্য একটু পারমেজান দেওয়া আছে।
মৌসুমী, এই পার্টিকুলার প্লেটটাতে আপনার হিসাবে কত ক্যালোরিজ আছে?
এখানে 510 থেকে 25 পর্যন্ত হবে।
আমার কাছে খেতে খুব ভালো লেগেছে, একদম চিজি, সব কিছু মিলিয়ে ভালো হয়েছে।
থ্যাংক ইউ।
আর আমার এরকম পাস্তাই পছন্দ, ওই যে একদম ড্রাই যেটা, সেটা ভালো লাগেনি।
আমার কাছে এক কথায় যদি টেস্টের কথা চিন্তা করে আমার কাছে চমৎকার লেগেছে যে ইনগ্রেডিয়েন্টগুলো আপনি ইউজ করেছেন, স্পেশালি চিজ মনে হয় আপনি মজারেলা চিজ আপনি অ্যাড করেছেন। সো অন্যান্য চিজের তুলনায় আমরা মজারেলা চিজটাকে না একটু হেলদি হিসেবে কাউন্ট করি। সো আপনি যেহেতু পাস্তার মধ্যে মজারেলা চিজ অ্যাড করেছেন ওই হিসেবে, প্লাস হচ্ছে আপনি মনে হয় ক্যাপসিকামও অ্যাড করেছেন, তো ওভারঅল আমার কাছে টেস্টের দিক থেকে খুবই ভালো লেগেছে, তবে আমি ক্যালোরির ব্যাপারে একটু কনসার্ন, এই ক্যালোরি মনে হয় বাড়তি হয়েছে, আদারওয়াইজ ওকে।
আপনার ইটালিয়ান পাস্তা আমাকে মুগ্ধ করেছে। টাস্ক যেহেতু 500 থেকে 600 ক্যালোরির মধ্যে আপনাকে কুক করতে হবে, আমি ক্যালোরি ভুলে গিয়ে আমি টেস্টের দিকে যাচ্ছি। ইটস রিয়েলি ফ্লেভারফুল পাস্তা। থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাম। থ্যাংকস।
মৌসুমী, বাকি জাজেসরা বলে দিয়েছে pasta tastes really good. It is a very home-cooked midnight pasta, perfectly aligning with the challenge যেটা আজকে দেওয়া হয়েছিল। But calories, কোনোভাবে এটা 480 calories না, it is way more. So ওই জায়গাতে একটু মার্কিংটাতে কম আসবে, but taste-wise and presentation-wise it looks and tastes really good today.
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
থ্যাংক ইউ। আপনি আজকে কস্টিংটা শেষ করেননি?
জি লিখেছি, বাট লাস্টে আমি আর ওটা টোটাল করতে পারিনি।
জি, কস্টিংটা ইনকমপ্লিট। ঠিক আছে, থ্যাংক ইউ।
থ্যাংক ইউ মৌসুমী কবির।
মিডনাইট ক্রেভিং এর কথা, থিমটা দেখে আমার প্রথমে মনে পড়েছিল চিপসের কথা, কারণ আমি হচ্ছে চিপস খুব পছন্দ করি এবং রাত বিরাতে আমি চিপস খাওয়া শুরু করে দিই, এটা বাচ্চারাও জানে। তো ওরা বেশিরভাগ সময় ওদের জন্য যদি কখনো তারা চিপস নিয়ে আসে বাইরে থেকে আনায়, তো দেখা যায় যে আমার জন্য একটা থাকে সেখানে, কারণ মারামারি লেগে যাবে বাচ্চাদের সঙ্গে যে আমাকে চিপস দেওয়া হয়নি। তো চিপস আমি খুবই পছন্দ করি, কিন্তু এখানে যেহেতু ক্যালোরির একটা ব্যাপার ছিল, তো চিপসটা অ্যাকসেপ্টেবল ছিল না। দ্যাটস ওয়াই আমাকে পাস্তাতে চলে যেতে হয়েছিল, যে পাস্তাটা এটা অনেক মানে কালারফুল একটা জিনিস হয়, আবার পেটটাও ভরে, আমার ক্রেভিংটাও মিটে যাবে, এই জন্য পাস্তাটাকে চুজ করেছিলাম।
টেস্টের দিক থেকে আমার কাছে মনে হচ্ছে আরেকটু চিকেনের মধ্যে যদি একটু মশলাটা একটু যদি বেশি একটু জুসি লাগতো, তাহলে মনে হয় আরেকটু বেশি টেস্টি লাগতো। আদারওয়াইজ ক্যালোরি হিসেব করলে বা আপনি যে ভেজিটেবলগুলো অ্যাড করেছেন ওই দিক থেকে ফার্স্ট ক্লাস।
I think it was a good effort, and আপনার calories from what I understand from here will be a little less, close to 500 হবে, which is perfect.
এবারে ঢাকার প্রতিযোগী দিবা, চলে আসুন।
আমি আজকে করেছি বেকড কোরিয়ান উইংস, আর সাথে আছে ভেজিটেবল স্প্যাগেটি।
যেটা মিড নাইটের একটা ক্রেভিং ফুডস, ক্যালোরি হিসেব যদি আমরা করি, যেটা আমরা ক্যালোরি ম্যাটার করে আমরা ফিক্স করে দিয়েছি, ক্যালোরি হিসেব করলে আমার কাছে মনে হয় যে ঠিক আছে, বাট টেস্টের দিক থেকে আমার কাছে মনে হচ্ছে আরেকটু চিকেনের মধ্যে যদি একটু মশলাটা একটু যদি বেশি একটু জুসি লাগতো, তাহলে মনে হয় আরেকটু বেশি টেস্টি লাগতো। আদারওয়াইজ ক্যালোরি হিসেব করলে বা আপনি যে ভেজিটেবলগুলো অ্যাড করেছেন ওই দিক থেকে ফার্স্ট ক্লাস, এটাকে হেলদি ফুড বলা যেতে পারে, বাট টেস্টটা মনে হয় আরেকটু রিচ হলে খুব ভালো হতো। থ্যাংক ইউ।
আপনার ইনোভেটিভ আইডিয়া আমার কাছে সবসময় ভালো লাগে। মিডনাইট ক্রেভিংয়ের জন্য এই রেসিপিটা একদম পারফেক্ট। ভেজিটেবল স্প্যাগেটি দিয়ে অ্যান্ড বেকড কোরিয়ান চিকেন মানে চিকেন উইংস খেতে দারুণ। ভেতরে চিকেন উইংসের মজাটা আমি পেয়েছি, সাথে আমি আবার যখন আপনার ভেজিটেবল স্প্যাগেটি নিয়ে খাচ্ছি চিকেন সহ, দেন ইট ফিলস ওয়াও। থ্যাংক ইউ।
কালারফুল ভেজিটেবল স্প্যাগেটি নামটা শুনতেও ভালো লেগেছে, আর যখন খাচ্ছিলাম তখন খুবই ভালো লাগছে। আর আরেকটা জিনিস, আমি আসলে ভেজিটেবল খুব পছন্দ করি। আমি ভেজিটেবলকে আমার খাবারের মধ্যে প্রথম ডিশ হিসাবে রাখি। তো আমার জন্য মনে হয়েছে এই ডিশটা একেবারেই পারফেক্ট।
স্মার্ট হয়ে যাবে।
থ্যাংক ইউ, টেস্টও ভালো ছিল।
থ্যাংক ইউ।
Diva, I think this is a perfect dish for midnight craving. I like the whole concept আপনি নুডলস বা স্পেগেটিকে হেলদিয়ার ভার্জন বানানোর জন্য এটাকে ভেজিটেবল দিয়ে করেছেন। আই লাভ দি আইডিয়া। অ্যান্ড চিকেন উইংস আমারও লেট নাইট ক্রেভিংয়ে ইটস ওয়ান অফ দ্য ফেভারিট টু হ্যাভ। সো ওভারঅল আই থিঙ্ক ইট ওয়াজ আ গুড এফর্ট। অ্যান্ড আপনার ক্যালোরিজ ফ্রম হোয়াট আই আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড ফ্রম হিয়ার will be a little less, close to 500 হবে, which is perfect.
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
Thank you. আপনার কস্টিং ঠিক আছে, it's a little expensive, but given Korean wings করেছেন, কস্টিং ঠিক আছে।
থ্যাংক ইউ দিবা।
আজকে বিচারকরা আমাকে ভালো কমেন্টই করেছে। যদিও আমাদের নিউট্রিশনিস্ট যে এসেছিলেন, উনি বলেছিল যে স্পাইসের লেভেলটা আরেকটু বেশি হলে ভালো হতো। আমার কাছেও এটাই মনে হয়েছিল। বাট ওভারঅল মিলিয়ে আমার ভালো প্রশংসাই পেয়েছি আজকে, যেটা আমাকে অনেক বেশি ইন্সপায়ার করবে নেক্সট রাউন্ডের জন্য।
Hey.